And for example, if we want to create a file, how can we create a file? How many ways we can create a file? And if we want to edit an existing file, so how can we do that? So these all things we had discussed. So yesterday we had discussed about aliases as well, and today we'll discuss about some of the, I mean, remaining commands we can say, that is copy and move and aliases. I think aliases we had discussed yesterday, but still it's an important topic to discuss. I'll just reiterate on that, right? And also we'll discuss about two major important topics, that is user management and file management, which are very important. User management is something, what we how we manage the users. For example, we will be having thousands of users in a server, in a Linux server, and how do we manage those thousand servers, right? And the file systems, we will be having multiple, like n number of files, and how do we manage those file systems? So how, what are the files are available in the Linux server, and how do we give the permissions to them? What permissions will be there to a file? So these all things we are going to discuss in today's class, right? And let me start with the basic commands yesterday, this copy, move, and alias commands. So for example, if you want to copy a file from one user, I mean, in the desktop, in the Windows, how do you do? And then Abu Zafar, admin, and so I don't see the names. Who is the admin? Can I know your name? Or the Zoom user?
Yeah, good morning, sir. I am Chandrasekhar.
Oh, okay. Hi, Chandrasekhar. So yesterday
Yeah,
you were in the part of yesterday you are part of the class, right?
no, sir, just today only I came.
Okay, okay, done. So I hope you can go through the recordings yesterday what we had discussed,
Yeah,
and
okay.
yeah. So today, as I told, we are going to discuss about some of the remaining commands yesterday what we have not discussed, like that is copy, move, and also we'll discuss user management and file management in this class.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
So if we want to copy a file from one particular directory, one place, we can say from one place to another place. So in Linux, we use the cp command. So, and if we want to know about the any of the command, for example, how can we use a command, right? It's like a book or run sheet, we can say. So this is the command manual. It's a kind of manual, and we call it as a man. And for example, cp. So you want to know about the cp command. So yeah, let me do this. So if you can see about that command, if you want the description, I mean the brief description about the command, so you will get the complete details, how to use and what are the variables we can use, what are the attributes, or what are the, I mean, we can full-fledgedly like use those commands. You can use the manual page if you are not aware of that. And so for example, if you can see here, man cp, so this is used for copying the files and directories. It's clear, right? So now if we want to copy a file, for example, yesterday I told ls-ltr is something to list out the files with the timestamps, right? And yesterday I told bash rc and bash underscore dot bash rc and dot bash underscore profile as well, and aliases as well. So alias is something we use for For example, you are typing a command like ls-ltr. So you doesn't want to execute every time. It's a kind of shortcut, we can call it as alias is a kind of shortcut. And for example, yeah, instead of calling the full name or instead of typing the full command, you can customize according to your needs, and you can customize according to your your comfort. And that's how you can do aliases are. So where do you configure the aliases? You can configure aliases in bash rc, right? And see, I have configured this alias ll is equal to ls-ltr. Okay. So for example, I'll save this. And after saving the file, so we have to source. Source is something, why we use the source is in order to make the effect permanently. So in order to make the effect permanently, in the sense, for example, you had edited this file. I mean, for example, you had edited this file. And for example, I'll tell you this bash rc alias um, sample is equal to touch files. Okay. What does this do? What does this do? This one? Anyone? So it simply creates a file. So basically it creates a file. So touch files in the sense, let me. So it simply creates a file. So if I execute sample, does it do? No. Why? It doesn't know. We just edited the vam.bash rc, but we haven't sourced it. Sourcing is something making it live or making it permanent. So once we source .bash rc, now you see sample, it executed, right? So what did it execute? It created a file, sample file, right? So that is how the aliases will work. For example, if you have seen, right? Um, so you can see LL. I have kept an alias like ls-ltr. So if I do ll, I'll get all the files. I no need to type ls-ltr, and the full command I no need to type. If I just do ll, I'll get the long listing and required format which we get in ls-ltr. So that is what the aliases are. And now we'll discuss about the copying a file. So copying a file is something. So if you want to copy a file from one place to another place, so that is where, or if you want to copy a directory from one place to another place, or if you want to take the backup. So for these all things, we use the copy command. Okay. So why do we use copy? To copy, if to copy a file or directory, or to take backup. So to in order to suffice these all functions, we use copy command. Okay. So now coming to an example. So for example, we'll give copy file name. I mean, the syntax will be copy file name and the destination. It's a kind of source and destination. Okay. So this is the source, what we want to copy. So this file, if we want to copy to this directory, right? So this is the command copy file name and the source and destination. Got it? See, sample 2. If you go to sample 2, you will get this file. So that is how we copy a file from one place to another place. Okay. And for example, if you want to copy a directory, for example, if you want to copy this directory into this directory, okay, then you have to use cp-rf. So it is something kind of recursive and forceful. Sorry. And sample 2 and sample 1. See what happened? It has copied sample 2 to sample 1. Right? So I'll just delete it. Rm minus rf sample 2. Okay. So what happens when you copy with the cp command? For example, if you copy cp sample 1 to sample 2, what happens? It will throw an error stating that it's a directory. You need to use -r recursive. So that is the reason we had used -rf, cp-rf, and we had copied directories. So that is how you need to copy the directory. To copy a directory, you need to use cp-rf, and to copy a file, you need to use cp. Okay. Hope everyone is clear. Now, for example, you need to take the backup. How do you take the backup of a file? So, for example, in the real-time scenario, you'll get a task stating that you need to perform. You need to perform any of the upgrade or any of any configuration in your server. You need to do. So, do you go directly and you make the modification? No, you first take the backup of a file. Okay. And what do you do after taking the backup of a file? Then you go and modify according to the configuration or any of the, for example, etc. In the etc, any configuration you want to make the changes, or if you want to make the configuration, or I mean, uh, uh, if you want to make any configuration before doing patching or upgradation or any of the task. For example, if you want to add a user in the sudoers file, so first and the safest thing what you do is you take the backup of a file, any of the configuration file, you take the backup. And once you take the backup of a file, then you are going, then we will perform the operations on that file. Got it? So in order to not to corrupt and also in order to, like, for example, the file, what the configurations you have made that gone, by mistakenly it corrupted, or by mistakenly it gone, it gone into a wrong way. So it is the safest way that you have already taken backup, and you can revert it back. You can delete the, I mean, the one which you have modified, and easily you can, I mean, easily you can roll back to the previous version. So that is how the backup is useful, and it's very important when you do any of the configurations in the Linux. Okay. So for example, how do you take the backup? So cp-rf, cp-r, for example, this file is there. I want to take the backup. How do you take cp-r? And this is the source and this is the destination. When you create a destination file, so you need to rename. You're copying a file, right? So when you copy a file, the same files cannot be there, right? So that's the reason you have to rename it. Rename in the sense, when you are copying itself, you just rename it to, for example, bkp. So see, you had got the files. So you will be having the same contents. So you will be having the same contents what is there in the file with contents. So you obviously you have taken the backup, and now you can do modifications in this file. For example, in this file, anything got corrupted, and you can easily roll back. You can delete this one and you can easily roll back to the previous version. I mean, previous version in the sense you can just rename this to contents and it will work. So that is how you do in the real time. That is how, for example, any task if you get in the uh, I mean company or in your workspace. So this is how you have to do. Okay, without backup, no one is entertained to do, or no one. First thing what they ask is, have you taken the backup of a file, or have you taken the backup of the existing configuration? So this is the first thing in the company they will ask. So without this, if you do, uh, you are done. You are gone. So they will ask number of questions. Why you have done? Don't you know the process and all? So that's the reason I have told backup is, I mean, pretty important. So in our previous in the sense like decade back, like 6 years, 7 years back, they used to take the backup. There are incremental backups and there are point to point snapshots. So now those backups are gone. I mean, now what doing is like they're taking the snapshot, like they're taking the snapshot of the complete the OS. So previously they used to take the backup of the files and all. Decade back. So if they want to, for example, if it's a important configuration or if it's an important thing, they can get the file from the backup, uh, get the file from the backup, and they used to place it. But now, if they want backup, means they have to install completely the OS. They have to install the complete OS, which is a very difficult one. So CP-R is pretty important when you work in the real time. Okay. So now we had discussed how to copy a file, how to copy a directory, and how to copy, how to take the backup of a files. Now we'll discuss about the MV command. Okay. MV. So MV is something, it is a move. So if you want to move a command. So for example, control in the Windows, what do you see? Control C is something but control copy. What it does, it just copies the file from one place to another place, right? So what is a move? Move means control X. You can think like that. So what does it do? Move. So it just cuts the file from here, and it moves the file from here to this, one place to another place. So that is what the move does, right? So for example, if I want to move this file, contents, if I want to move this file to this directory, how can you do? With the move command, you can do sample. So see, you are not seeing the files here. So you should be able to see in this, see, file with contents, right? So, and now I'll just remove this. And now, so you got it right. So how you can move a file from one place to another, another place. Okay. So if you want to move multiple files, for example, I have file with content. Instead of this, we can use the wild character. So wild character, it star is something, it resembles all the things, all, right? For example, I'm giving file after star means after file, what is there? For example, after file, what is there? All things will be copied. So file after star, anything after star is, it resembles everything. Okay, you can think like that. For example, if I create file one, file file two, so if I do move file star, means it comes and it copies all the files in the sense after star, what all files will come, everything will be copied to the destination folder. So for example, if I do this file star and if I give sample 2 ll, see nothing is there. Everything has been copied to sample 2, sample 2. If you see this, right? Everything has been copied to this. So that is where we use this hash, wild character, we can say special character or wild character, like so this will be useful when you do multiple operations or on multiple files at a time, or if you want to open multiple files, or if you want to uh, do any operations on the multiple things, you can use the wild character star. Okay, and hope everyone is clear till now how we can use the move command and cp command. Any doubts here? Okay, so if no, I'll just go. And the next command is how to rename a file. For example, we have a script. Okay, let me create a file. So we have a file called sample3. Okay, and we want to rename this file. So basically in the Windows, how do you do? So you just right click on the file and you just do the rename, or you click on F2. So these are some of the shortcuts you use. But in the Linux, you have to use mv command, move command. So mv command will be used for two things. One is to move the file from source to destination, and to rename. How can you rename? So for example, mv and so sample 2. So the name of the file which you are going to, this is the file source and destination. So what is the source? Like, which file you want to rename, you select that name, select that file, and the destination. So how do you want to rename? What and how? Okay. And if you do it like this, and you can see, okay. Okay, it has consists of directory and it has moved to that directory. Okay, touch test two, move test two to test three, LL. So now you can see I have created a test two file and I have renamed it to test three. So here, what happened? Anyone can tell me why I'm not able to see the file? Anyone? Niharika, Praveen Shinde, Chandrasekhar. Yeah. So basically what happened here is, so there is a directory exists. This is the directory. Okay. So I have moved this file from here to this folder, right? So if I go to sample 2 and do ll, so you can see here this file. So what happens is, when, as I told, move is for, uh, we can use move in two ways. One is moving a file or moving a directory from one place to another place, and renaming a file from existing to the new one. Okay, so that is what the main difference between the mv command, renaming a command, renaming and moving. That is what we use for mv command. And now, um, hope everyone is clear with the move command. So, and now we'll discuss about something very interesting topic that is users, groups, and ownership for a file. So it's a kind of file system management, like it's a kind of file permissions, we can say. And it's a kind of you when you enter this, when you enter ll, so you're seeing this user, and when you log into a user, what are these users, and what is this, and what is this. So these and all, like, we have a concept called users, and these are users, and these are groups, and these are kind of ownership. So we have, for example, you in the Linux, we have three main characters, or you can take three main actors in the backend. So one is users, one is group, and one is others. Okay. For example, who am I? When you type who am I, it shows your username. Username in the sense the current user. So when any of the particular, for example, when any of the particular user in the sense, in a production environment, or in a real time, in the office, or in a real time, what happens is the administrator, Linux admin, or the one who manages the Linux server, they creates a username. Okay, for every particular operation, for every particular user to log into a server, they you will be having a username. Okay, that is what the username is. So username is something, for example, in your Windows, if you want to log in, you will be logging through admin, right? Or you will be creating a particular user, and you will be logging it. So that is what the user is. Okay, and when and so in your user, once they create the user, you can do whatever you want. You log into your you log into your user, and you can create a file, you can do operations, and it will be monitored. For example, if you run in any command, or if you do any operations, it will be logged, and it will be like in the audit, or it will be in the logs, stating that okay, this particular user has executed these things, or this particular, for example, this user has done these set of operations, or this particular user has deployed some things. So these and all comes under, this is why the user has been used. Okay, for example, if there is no user, okay, so you imagine, for example, you will be having a particular name for you, right? For example, my name is Manikanta, and we have the audience, like for example, Chandrakant, we have Praveen or Niharika. So why do we name it? Why do we keep the names like, why do we have these names? To identify, right? So to identify the individuals, particular individuals. In the same way, so if you doesn't have the names, how do we call, right? How do you do, how do you call, or how do you represent yourself? So that is the reason, that is the only reason why we have the usernames. Okay, and so to isolate from you to, for example, there are 100 users. So 100 users can log into a server, and they can do operations, right? So this is why the user in the uh, in the Linux server is important. Okay, so in every time when you join a company, they will create a username, and based on that username, you log into a system, log into a server, and once you log into the server, so you will be having, for example, once you log into the server, you will be under slash home directories. What is a slash home directory? So in the Linux, everyone will be created under, every user will be under slash home. Okay. By default, every user will be under slash home. Okay. And one, for example, for example, if you take in Windows, if you replicate it to Windows, in the Windows, C programming, I mean, C drive will be there, right? In the C drive, in the C drive, there will be a users, right? So that is what the users in the Linux, we call it as slash home. Under slash home, all the users will present like a under C, under the C drive, as C drive, like here slash home, all users will be there. Okay. Now, so now we have seen this who am I. So with who am I command, we can see which user is present. I mean, who is that user? And now with ID, there is a command called ID. So in the ID command, it shows, for example, this user, and I'll tell you what and all these things are. Okay. So for every user, it resembles an user ID in the Linux server. Okay, that's how it. We can say that's how it. For example, in a Linux server, there are 999 user IDs and group IDs, and all users consist of group. You got it. So, for example, there is an application team. I mean, there is a development team. There is an operations team. There is an SRE team. There is an MLOps team. Okay, or I mean, these teams were there, right? When these teams, they can do it under one group. Okay. So for example, all developers they will create all users and all Dove users. For example, Ravi, Shashikant. So they will create all these users and they will group it under Dove team. So this is where the group will come under. So you can create the users and you can add it to the group. So what is the benefit of adding it to the group? So for example, you want to give a particular permissions to all the users. Okay. So how do you give? So if you give it to the group, it will come to all the people. It will come to all the people who are in that group. It will, everyone can execute that file, or everyone can execute the read or write permissions on that particular files or directories. So that is not only that, like for example, if you want to uh, yeah, so the main, if you want to execute or if you want to do some operations, so these all things will be achievable with the group instead of giving each and individual user. So you can form it a group, you can make it a group, and I mean, you can create under group, and if you give it to that group, who are under that group, everyone will get that permissions, right? So this is why we use groups. I mean, group. So as I told, everything, for example, everything will be having an uh, represented by ID, the number. Okay. So that we have at approximately like 999 user IDs, and those are the limits, not triple nine, four nines. How many, I mean, those are the, those many user IDs, those many group IDs we can create like that. Okay. So let me execute the groups. Okay. So as of now, we have these are the groups we have: EC2 user, ADM, wheel, and system D. So for example, like wheel is something kind of pseudos. So I'll tell you what is a, how many types of users are there in the uh, Linux. So for example, okay. So we have, so as I told, this is a normal user. Okay. EC2 user is a normal user. And we have pseudo user. Okay. And these are kind of like, I mean, First one I'll tell you. Users we have are root user and normal user, and we have system user. Okay. So what are these type of what are these type of users? For example, root user is something who will be is like a kingmaker. Like he can control over everything. He whatever he wants, he can do. He can install, delete, modify, break it, or if he wants to like restart the system, if he wants to shut down the system, whatever he wants, he can do. We call it as a super user. Okay. And now comes to normal user. Normal user is something where it will be created by admin. So super user or root user is a kind of, we call it as an admin as well. Okay. So these normal users were created by admins or root user. Okay, during the OS install, or if you want to add some users. So this is what the normal user. For example, if you can see here, EC2 user is a user. Okay, for example, user add. So this is a command, I'll tell you. This is a command used for creating a user. Okay, for example, student. Okay, so why I'm not able to create here? Can anyone tell me why I'm not able to create? So since I'm not able to create because it is not a sudo. So sudo is something, I'll tell you. So sudo we have under comes under root user. So for example, everyone we cannot give the root user, or everyone cannot be the super user. So this is where the sudo user comes into picture. For example, there are 5 admins. In your one second. For example, you are in a you are in an office. You are working as a system admin. Okay, and in your team there are 6 people. Okay, you are having the root access. You whatever you want you can do, and you are not available. Okay, you are not available in the sense you are you are out of the office. When you are out of the office, so if there is a something urgent, there is an production issue came. So what do you do when the production issue came if you're absent? Like the one who is having the root access is absent. He's not available. So what happens then? No one can control the system. No one can control the server, right? So that is where the root user will be giving permissions to a particular kind of like pseudo user. We call it as a normal user, or we call it as a super user, or pseudo is the best one. So pseudo user. Okay. So root user will give the permissions, or root user will give the privileges to pseudo user. And the pseudo user is a kind of like, you can call it as a minister after the king. So he will be controlled like a prime minister. So he will be controlling all the people. Okay, he can control the complete server by executing some commands. On behalf of the root. So that is where the pseudo user is. So we have root user, under the root user, we have pseudo user, and we have the normal user, and we have the system user. Okay. So this is the main hierarchy, we can say, not hierarchy. This is something bit important to understand what users are, how users are present, and how, I mean, what is a pseudo user, what is a normal user, and what is a system user. So pseudo user is something, as I told, it's a kind of under the root user. They can do, for example, I can give multiple people the sudo, for example admins, right? So they can create a user or they can modify according to their needs. Okay. So here, if you can see EC2 user is a pseudo user. How can you find it, whether it is a pseudo user or not? So for example, if you can see sudo, okay, EC2 user, this is the command -lu. Okay, okay, sudo. Um, not this. So, for example, so this is the file. So, if you can see here, this is where the sudo's file is. So this is the important one. This is the sudo's file. So if you can see here, so wheel is something, it's a kind of where we can add all the users here to run all the commands in the sense whatever the root. So if you can see here, all of all means he can execute all commands, whatever he wants, he can execute all commands. So that is where you can see here in the sudo's file, if you want to modify any of the, I mean, if you want to give the permissions to a particular user, or if you want to add a particular user to execute those commands. So whatever commands, if he wants to add, so you can mention the user name and you can add it here. For example, if I want to add a particular user and I can see, for example, this is how you add the particular user and you can add this thing. So if he wants to execute this command or if he wants to execute this command, so you can add, this is how you can add the particular user to execute a particular commands. Okay. So we are not able to create a user, right? If we give sudo user add and student. So yeah, we had created the user. So how do we know whether we have the created the user and whether the user has been created or not? So we can check with ID command. So student. So you can see here automatically the user ID, and by default, if we doesn't mention anything, by default the group will be created with the username. Okay, and it will be attached to the particular group, like the group will be created and it will be attached to the group, right? And now the user, it has created the user, it has created the group, and it has created the, I mean, now if we want to log into that user, how do you log into that user? For example, so in the two ways you can log in. You can log in, like for example, by new session you can log in, or you can directly switch it to student. So we hasn't created the password. Okay. So for every user you need to create a password. Okay. So pass wd and student. So sudo pass wd and student. So for example, I'll give test 123. Okay, it's not taking the bad password. And for example, I'll take capital test T cap. Okay, test 123. It's just a warning. So we have created the password. for the student. And now if you switch it to a student, test 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you can see here, the user has been logged in, and it is saying that failed because we had tried here, right? So where did we try? So here we have tried SU to log into that user. It hasn't logged in. So that is the reason it is saying that there was one failed login, and it monitors everything. Okay. And then we had logged in. So if you type ID, so you can see we are into the user. Here you can see it is a user and the IP, the host name. It is a user and the host name. So hope everyone is clear. We created a student and we created a user and we logged in, right? And now if, for example, you got to know what is a pseudo user, what is a normal user, and what is a system user. System user is something, for example, for, I'll show you this. This is a kind of password. So what is a etc password? Etc password is something where our all logins, for example, you have created a user, right, student, and we have the user called EC2 user. All the user information will be stored under etc password slash etc slash password. Every user information, for example, the what and what, how many users are there, what users are there. So every user data, we can say, or every user information will be stored under slash etc slash password. Okay, so here we can see, so this is the user and this is the password will be in the encrypted mode. Okay, this is the user ID and this is the group ID, this is the user home shell, user home directory. Okay, this is the shell. I think the shell is something, when you log into a server, there are three types of shells. One is bourne shell, con shell, like KSH and CSH, right? So, and we have no login. So no login is something we use for, immediate, you cannot log into the server. It will be used only for system users, or some of the applications will be used for no login shell because it doesn't require the login is not required. Okay, that's the reason. And some people shouldn't log in as well in that servers. Okay, that is the reason there is a no login. Okay, and these are something kind of system users. Okay, used by some process, used by some applications, used by some services, right? So not by humans. So that is where the we call it as a system users. For example, you can take it as sync or daemon, or for example NFS. There are FTP. So these are kind of FTP. These are kind of something we call it as a system users, and system D, and these are all the system users. By when you create the OS, when you install the OS, these automatically these system OS will be created. Okay, on top of the system OS, you will be created like EC2 users and all these things. Yep. Hope till now everything is clear. Any doubts? Anyone? Praveen and Chandrakant.
No, sir, it's good to me.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Praveen. So, so you got to know now what are the what are users and how to switch a user. Okay. And as I told, the user is something, a regular user created by human, kind of like you, like me. By using sudo, we will be creating a users, right? And we will be, we had logged in and we had seen that, right? And now what we will discuss is file permissions. One second. Okay. So now we will see the file permissions. What are the file permissions we have? And for example, if we do like this, what is this? Okay. And what is this? As I told, when I create a file, when we create a when we create a user, automatically the user and group will be created. This is what the user and group. Okay. And now you got to know what is this, what is this part, right? And now we have to concentrate on this. What is this? Okay, what are these fields? Okay. And so these are something kind of I mean permissions, we can call it as. Okay. So what are permissions? So permissions are something, for example, if you want to do some operations, or if you want to do some uh, if you want to do some particular operations in a file, so that is what the permissions are. For example, uh, we can say like this. So for example, a user want to read or write a file, right? Or user want to modify a file. So how can he do this? Or if a group wants to modify the file, or if any others apart from the group, or if apart from the user, if they want to do any modifications in the files, or in the directories, that is where the file permissions that is where the file permissions comes into the picture, right? And when you do ls hyphen, when we have done this, when if you are seeing the output, like for example, this is a file, as I told. If it consists of underscore, this represents the directory and this represents the file. If there is no d, then that is a file. Okay. If there is an d, then that is a directory. Hope you can make the difference, what is a file and what is a directory, right? And it is a, if it consists of hyphen in the front, it is a regular file, right? So regular file in the sense, like it's a normal, like it's a, whether it's a script or anything, we call it as a file. Okay. So, and now coming to this, what are these? So read, write, execute. So these are something: read, write, execute. Okay. So this is something: read, write, execute. So what is a read? What is a write? What is a execute? Okay. So read, write, execute is something kind of, if you want to do, if you want to read a file, so that is where the permission was. If you want to write a file, or if you want to execute, execute is something, if you want to, for example, this is a script, and if you want to execute this script, so that is where you want the permission called x. Okay. And for a particular user, for example, this user wants to execute, this user want to read a file. For example, there is a, I'll create a file. Okay. Mm, for example, this file is there, and I switch it to student. Okay, I have created a user, right? So I have created a test one. Okay, what is the password? Test 123. Yeah? Okay, so I have logged into the user. Okay, so for example, I go to the /home/ec2 user. Why I'm not able to go to the /home/ec2 user? So why? If you can see the permissions for others in the sense where the student is others, right? He is not part of the group, he is not part of the any of the member related to this ec2 user. So he is a kind of others. So if you can see, the permissions are null for these others. So that was the reason he is not able to log in. For example, if I'll give sudo chmod plus 777, I'll just tell you what was it, and I'll give ec2 user and I'll switch back to the user, and I'll go test 123 and /home/ec2 user. See, now I am able to log in and now I am able to execute the commands. Hope you can see the difference, right? So what I have done, so ls-ld /home/ec2 user. So if you can see, he has all the permissions. So see, first is owner, another one is group, another one is others. Others in the sense, apart from those are not part of owner or those are not part of the group, and those are called others. Hope it is clear, right? So this is bit complicated, or we can say this, those who are new to Linux, this is bit I mean, difficult to understand, but yeah, concentrate on this. We have 9 fields. We have 9 fields. Okay. First field is, see, first we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So first is kind of 9 fields. First is read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Okay. Total 9 fields we have. Okay. First is user, that is the one who created a file, is a kind of owner. We can call it as a owner. Okay. And another one is uh, group. Okay. And another one is others. Okay. So we have 9 fields, 3 fields each, 3 fields for user, 3 fields for group, 3 fields for others. Hope till here it is clear, right? So now what we do is, like, uh, for example, the user will be having read, write, execute. And for example, he created a file. You see here. Sorry. For example, I create a file, uh, touch sample. When I create a file, so I'll be having read, write permissions by default. So read, write permissions I will be having, and the group will be having read permissions, and the others will be having read permissions. These are the default permissions when you create a file. Okay. When you create a directory, okay, mkdir, like test 2. Okay. So what, with the, you observe here, with the student I'm creating a, with the student I'm creating it. Okay. On, by logging into the student, I'm creating a files and I'm creating the directories. Okay. When you log into the student and you create a file or you create a directory, automatically the owner and the group will be created by you. For example, you buy a property on your name, you will be having your rights, right? You will be having rights. You will be having your rights that you can do whatever you want in your site, or you can do whatever you want in your flat, right? So that is how, when you create a file, you will get the ownership. You can do whatever you want. It will not go to other. For example, if you are in this directory, it will not change the permissions to that on behalf of that name. So whoever has created the file or directory, it will be the ownership, and the group will be there on their names, their ownership and their group. Okay. Now, so for example, if you created a directory, by default, it will be coming as read, write, execute, and it is read and execute and read and execute. So group will be having read and execute, and owner will be having, I mean, the others who are not part of groups or who are not part of owner, they will, I mean, obviously, who are not part of groups, they will be having read and execute. Okay. So hope till here everything is clear. Any doubts, Chandrakant? Or you want me to explain it again?
No, sir, it's okay. My name is Chandrasekhar Chandrakant. That's
Okay,
it.
okay,
Was
sorry,
just
sorry, sorry, Chandrasekhar. Yeah.
yeah. That,
So yeah, and So, and for example, the last concept, like I'll tell you and I'll wind it up here. And since it's a continuity, I'll just, and I want you people to practice it, because if you doesn't practice it, it will be very difficult for you to, in the next class, it will be very difficult for you to, it will be new. If you are new to Linux, it will be difficult. And so that's the reason what I'm telling you is just practice it. Okay.
Yeah, sir. Okay.
Yeah, just practice before coming to the class, so that it will be easier for you, and it will be fun as well. So when you
Yeah.
practice it.
Okay. But one helps from your side.
Yep.
I want yesterday's and today's class video recorded. That recorded video you want.
Okay. Yesterday's, I think you can. I'll just contact the KSR people, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Satish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Contact. Because we are joining, we are thinking to join 3 members. We have friends with 3 members. We are. But I only joined today class. But 2 members are not there because yesterday they are going with night shift for work.
Okay.
That's we want to send it for both peoples. They also want
Okay.
to see. That's it. Okay, means I was okay to join, but they also want to see. No, that's we are asking.
Sure,
Hello.
Chandrasekhar.
Yeah.
Satish.
Hello. Hi, sir. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Very good morning.
May I know your name, sir?
Chandrasekhar Harbi.
Yeah. Can you take my number? I will share that recordings to your WhatsApp, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tell me, sir. Your number.
Yeah.
89
89
51
51
78
78
51
51
23.
23. Yeah. Okay, sir. I'll note it.
Okay, sir. If you need any assistance, please let me know. I'll help you, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, thanks. Thanks, Satish. So Chandrasekhar, so where are you from? I just want to know, like, which background you are from. So
Yeah,
can
I'm
you?
in manufacturing field because 2 years onwards I'm working in Wipro Aerospace.
Okay,
Just later on, now I want to change in IT field. That's
sorry, voice. Hello, you went into mute.
hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, now it's possible. Audible, sir.
yes, yes, it's audible. So you're from India, is it?
Yeah, India only. I'm Bangalore near only Chiblapur district.
Okay, Bangalore. Okay,
Yeah,
so
because
you
2 years onwards I'm working in manufacturing field, Wipro Aerospace.
got it. Okay.
But now I want to change it for IT field, looking for IT field only.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. Okay.
That's some my friend was referred to join for AWS DevOps. But
Okay.
I asked my professor also, Mr. Ravi, is working in Nagarjuna College.
Okay.
He's referred for Mahesh.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Mahesh was told you can join for AWS DevOps only means it's not the use because it's more tools they are asking because upcoming is
Yes. Yes.
that's their tool.
That's a good decision. So, how many years of experience you have? Like when you are passed out, may
Yeah,
I know?
2023.
23 and
Yeah, we have got it in placement in college campus only.
okay, okay. It's a good
Yes.
start. Actually, you realized. I mean, I can say you realized very fast, very quick,
Yeah, yeah.
and this is the
That's only
best time.
we are coming with IT field.
Sorry.
That's only we are looking for IT field.
Exactly, exactly. So even I'm from the mechanical background.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, however, I started with the um, from my career, I started with the Unix itself, the Linux.
Okay.
And this
Oh,
is a very good start for you, like for example, we are discussing the Linux
yeah,
because
but I will join now only means I will join it as much as early only. I think 2 3 days early. But it will count it 2 years experience also in this DevOps and all. We can show it, no?
obviously you can show it. For example, you are 2 years having, 2023 passed out, right?
Yeah, yeah, right.
So And so obviously when this completes, like when this course completes, it's almost like 3 years. I mean, it
Okay.
will be approximately like, I mean, some 2 to 3 months. Like after that, like when did you join? 2024?
Wait, sir.
I mean, when did you join the I mean, the manufacturing
Okay.
company?
Manufacturing company 2023 only, sir.
23 when
2023, I think April month.
okay, okay,
Yeah, we
April.
got it placement in college only. No, that's why I went early.
Got it,
I
got it.
didn't waste the
So
time.
it's bit easy for you to sustain. For example, you can say around 3 years of experience, and
Okay.
then you can start searching. And there are multiple opportunities, like for 2 to 5 years of from the 2 to 5 years, you will be getting associate roles,
Okay. Okay.
and yeah, you can easily sustain. I mean, you can easily go through. I mean, because see, Linux is something which I mean, you have joined at the right time, I can say, as I told.
Yeah, but
So,
I have today only first class. No, but I didn't understand little bit. But it's
uh,
okay. I will take
yeah,
it time and I will learn more.
sure, sure. You can go through the recordings and you can come back to us. For
Oh,
example, if you have any doubts, you can post your queries in the WhatsApp.
yeah. Okay.
And also what you can do is you create an AWS account. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Once you create a AWS account, you will be able to, I mean, you can practice the commands whichever I told. You can
Okay.
practice those commands.
Yeah.
By
Okay.
practicing the commands, for example, every day if you practice half an hour,
Yeah.
so you will get through. So these commands are like till we die, those never change.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So once you learn these commands and once you practice these commands,
Okay.
then it's done. So in lifetime they never change. So that's the benefit we will get. And Linux is something basics we need to know in
Okay.
order to sustain any of the DevOps or MLOps or Kubernetes or any of the things in the DevOps world. In order to sustain, Linux is the fundamental, I can say.
Okay. Okay. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just practice it, create an AWS account and just practice the whatever I have told, I mean, whatever I have discussed earlier. So just
Yeah.
practice it and you will be, I mean, you will get through.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
example, uh, I mean, yeah. So whatever I discussed in the class, if you practice those things, and it will be more than enough.
Okay. Okay. Done.
Yeah. And so yeah. So I hope you can able to see my screen. So I have discussed these permissions, right? So sorry, I'll
Yeah,
just
sir. Done. Yeah.
so basic to user. So I'm new session. I'll just log into the server.
Okay.
So this is how we log in. For example, host name, connections, or credentials, browse, and then this. uh, No support for authentications. Okay, okay. I have changed the permissions, right? I have changed the permissions and it's go. Okay. I think that's the thing. Okay. So I need to create another. I need to create another server. So since we have changed the permissions for /home/ec2 user, and due to security reasons in the AWS, it's not allowing me to log in. So I'll create a new server. So now I'll create a new server in the next class. So yeah, I'll tell you here itself. So for example, let me show it to you. Since, see, for example, everything in the octet in the sense, for example, you are seeing here, right? So these are something like everything resembles by number. Okay. So in the simple words, we can say read is the octal number was 4, and write is something it was represented in the binary in the backend by 2. Okay. And execute is something it was in the backend, it was resembled by 1. Okay. So it's something kind of, for example, you are having the permissions for this is 7. So the total is read, write, execute is 7. So in the same way, what is this one for? So read is how much read? 4 plus 1, 5, right? And
Yes.
execute is 1. So for example, if you want to give permissions for a particular file, so what you can do, you can uh, you can give 754 or 722 or 734. So likewise you can give. So I'll discuss in the next class about that. For example, if you want to give permissions stating that, so can you tell me what is the permissions? Can you tell me in the octet what is the permissions for this? The complete. So what is this one? 7, right? So 7. So for example, 4, 2, 1. Hope you understand. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So you understood, right? So this is 7. This is the,
Yeah,
as I
yeah. Yeah, no, I
as
got
we
it.
discussed, this is user,
Yeah.
this is the owner. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
this is the group. These are others. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So for owners in the sense for the one who created the file, the owner
Right.
is having how many permissions? Read, write, execute. Read, write, execute means what? What does it? The octal number. What is it? Octal number for the complete this one?
7.
So exactly 7. So for this, so R is something 4, and X is something 1,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
5.
1. It's actually. Yeah.
Yeah, 5. So what is this one?
Yes, right.
5. So the total, what happened?
So,
755.
yes, sir.
You got it?
Yes, sir.
So it's a 755 permissions. So what we call in the real time. So when someone asks you to change it to 755, so these are what? Read, write, execute, and read, execute. And so we will discuss these things in the
Oh,
coming class. Like, I mean, we'll discuss more these type of scenarios more in coming class. Okay. You go and just
yeah.
practice the
Okay.
CP command, basic commands like CP, remove, cop, move, and
Yeah.
getting the list of files and creating a files, and you can practice those things and some basic user administration tasks, and then in the next class we'll discuss about these file permissions again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sir. That's
Okay, Chandrakant. Yeah. Chandrasekhar, is it?
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Chandrasekhar, sir.
Okay,
Right,
yeah.
sir. Right.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank you,
Chandrasekhar.
sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are leaving, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Chan. Bye.